Welcome, everybody. This is the last panel in the main stage, and we're being, I believe, live streamed, so that's amazing. And thanks to all of you for coming and joining us in this last session. It's great to see you all, but it's more wonderful to have our panel. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce the panel so you know everyone's names and who everyone is, and then we'll go around and people will give you a contribution about what their thinking is about our topic today, which is when humans create with machines, but also we've got our overall topic about AI in the commons that we're talking about, peppered throughout this discussion. So I'm going to introduce people. Jordan, I'm going to start with you, and it's just wonderful to have you here. And I'm just going to say a little bit about Jordan. Jordan is an internationally based multimedia designer and educator, and in his work at the Wikimedia Foundation, love Wikimedia Foundation, he applies his knowledge and design towards increasing awareness, uses and support for Wikipedia and Wikimedia projects. So thank you, Jordan, for being here. Let's have a round for Jordan. Thank you. And I am super excited as well to have Empress Trash here. Thank you so much for being here. Empress Trash is a multi-versatile visual artist currently residing in Mexico City, a wonderful city. And you have a Rottweiler dog as well. Amazing. And I was just wondering if Rottweiler dog might come along at some point. We'd love to see him. And a lifelong artist, she earned her BFA in painting, drawing, and animation design from the University of Iowa in just 2014. Amazing. And you've done amazing more things than that. But I will stop there. Thank you for being with us. Great to see you. So big shout out for Empress Trash. Thank you. And Fatima. I met Fatima in the lobby of the hotel. It was so lovely to meet you, Fatima. You're based in Porto and is an expert in development strategy and sustainability for cultural and creative industries, and having a background in economics and cultural policy and management. So we have folks here who come from very different backgrounds, but also that is what we're here for listening and understanding. And Elian, I met you yesterday and had, I think we sat for an hour, didn't we? And it was just an amazing conversation. Elian is a visual artist and, most importantly, an activist for people with disabilities. And his practices range from expanding painting, photography, and writing to social activism and community art projects. With 4 individual exhibitions and numerous group exhibitions, your projects can be found in more than 30 countries. Can we have a shout out for Fatima and Elian? Thank you. So, what a wealth of experience we have on this stage. So, I was going to start with, but actually I'm going to start with Elian. Can I start with you, Elian, to just say a few words, and I'm going to give you the mic. Oh, there's another mic here. We're sharing mics. There we go. There's another one.
Hola, hola.
Yay. Super.
Okay, thanks for introducing me. I think I want to say something before start. I think we cannot discuss, fight, and defend open culture if we cannot speak in our own language, more in Latin America, so I will speak in Spanish. Sorry for the people who don't understand our local language. Ok, la pregunta sobre si la inteligencia artificial está empujando los límites de la creatividad, yo creo que efectivamente sí, pero porque todas las tecnologías históricamente han empujado los límites de la creatividad, ¿no? Digo, como decía hace un rato en la mesa anterior, quizás al principio para poder tallar una piedra se golpeó tanto contra otra piedra hasta que alguien se dio cuenta que había que inventar un cincel con un martillo, ¿no? Desde ese momento, las capacidades humanas, físicas, se han entendido de manera limitada, pero no las, ¿no? Entonces, a lo largo de la historia, ha ido avanzando sistemáticamente eso, ¿no? La escritura de la historia, el desarrollo de la cultura, el desarrollo de los sentidos creativos y artísticos, pero en este caso creo que coagula en un problema, ¿no? El problema es que ahora la extensión del cuerpo que la tecnología está interviniendo es la de pensar, ¿no? Es la de la razón. Entonces, quizás hace unos años pensar la música electrónica como una posibilidad de desarrollar, no sé, beats, por ejemplo, fue cuestionada, pero rápidamente fue aceptada, ¿no? Pienso, no sé, la capacidad para poder pintar algo de gran superficie, como yo lo hago como artista, gracias a máquinas se puede hacer posible. Pero en el caso de la razón, creo que a la especie humana le hace un ruido particular porque la razón es lo que nos separa de las otras especies. Y con esto me refiero a que el antropocentrismo, es decir, la idea de que el humano es la especie central de todo el tejido vivo de la Tierra, se basa justamente en esa herida, ¿no? De poder razonar. Pero yo me pienso el problema que trae, porque por ejemplo yo uso audífono, no sé si lo llegan a ver, pero yo puedo escuchar música, incluso hablar con ustedes, gracias a la utilización del audífono. Si nos centramos en esa idea especista o biologicista de que el cuerpo tiene que crear solamente lo que puede el cuerpo, yo tampoco debería poder caminar porque tengo una pierna completamente de metal, ¿no? Entonces, la civilización ha hecho de que el diálogo con las máquinas, el diálogo con el tejido vivo, el diálogo interespecie, de algún modo, haya estado un poco sometido a la especie humana, ¿no? Está claro, eso todos lo sabemos. Pero ahora creo que lo que está sucediendo es que no es más el humano haciendo arte, sino es el arte haciendo el humano, ¿no? Hay como una inversión de la supuesta relación de la creatividad que a mí me parece muy desafiante. ¿Trae problemas? Sí, claro, en términos laborales, en términos creativos también, en términos de acceso a las herramientas. Digo, como latinoamericano me pregunto, ¿qué puedo hablar de la inteligencia artificial sabiendo que los monopolios están en el norte, ¿no? Pero sin embargo, creo que hay que insistir en poder conectarnos con el goce que nos habilita el trabajo cultural, ¿no? Porque ahí hay una posibilidad de imaginar otro futuro, ¿no? Aunque haya que discutir cómo se desarrolla la inteligencia artificial. Gracias.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, my take on this is very much. I really don't feel like I have much to add because we had such an inspiring day with all the talks and but it's pretty much things that I've been reasoning about because my experience on this is mostly with supporting projects, creative projects, namely creative startups. And artists. And the way I see artificial intelligence is, of course, it's a technology. It's another instrument. It's something that can and is creating new possibilities for artists in terms of creativity. But it's just a technology, as many others that have appeared before, and not only technical ones. Like I can't avoid seeing all the psychedelic imagery around artificial intelligence, generative art. So it's very much artists grab whatever they can to create. So if it is something new, they will grab it, and they are doing that and exploring it and questioning it, which is what I feel it's the most interesting part on creative work. The thing that for me is a bit more worrisome is the fact that, of course, in terms of the market structures and the way that artists access the benefit or the returns that you can take from this artificial intelligence is, of course, being amplified in terms of the asymmetries that already exist in the cultural sector in general. So, and namely the information asymmetries, and we've talked a lot about this today, about great conglomerates that take advantage of this because they are in a stronger power position. And I just like to wrap up with something that's, of course, the day today really inspired me a lot. And I really believe that it's looking into artificial intelligence is not necessarily artificial wisdom. And humans have that power still to look at technologies and see what they want and can do about them. So getting inspiration from the way different approaches to culture from different communities and peoples all over the world can teach our Western approach to these technologies. I think it's the way to go. So I really believe it's something that we need to consider and to explore more. And artists are definitely raising these questions and suggesting this kind of approach to it. So I would leave it for the moment here.
Thank you. Thanks, Fatima. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, everyone. I want to first start with, I always lead with gratitude. So I just want to say thank you for having this panel, having this space. Thank you, everyone listening. Thank you, everyone listening on the live stream, which made me a little more nervous, and everyone in the future who possibly listens to this. Yeah, so I'm actually an artist who uses AI. And I haven't found a lot of us here yet at this conference. So if you use AI, come find me and say hi. So just to give a little background on why I use it and the context of what I use it for, I started about 2 years ago just playing around with like the Wombo app, which is a very accessible app on like all iPhones. And I created a series. I'm very much like a glitch artist and a feminist artist. Like I create work about femininity and modern issues around women a lot. And the first series I took was combining a picture of a half-eaten papaya with portraits of famous women talking about how we consume women in media. And from there, I really got excited, and I started really seeing the potential of being able to blend AI in my already like lifetime creative practice. So yeah, I've been going down the rabbit hole since, getting more and more into it, technically involved into it. I use Midjourney. I have a locally installed Stable Diffusion on my computer. I'm starting to train my own AI models, and all of it integrates into everything else that I'm doing. So I'm very much a glitch artist. I like disrupting systems, and the reason I clung to AI is because it is inherently disrupting how we concept art. And I think that's lovely, and it brings up discourse, and I think that's lovely. And the biggest thing, like listening to everyone over the last couple of days, the biggest thing that I want to put out there is, how do I say this? Like, a lot of people are concerned about how old paradigms are gonna work with the technology, but I think a lot of us, besides the people who benefit from current power structures, can agree that the old paradigms aren't working. Like, they're not sustainable, they're not equitable, there's a lot of issues with them. So instead of trying to figure out how to enforce the old paradigms on these new technologies, which are very intentionally trying to disrupt these systems, like, give it space. Let us disrupt. Let us screw this up. And then it gives space for people to come in and actually build something hopefully more equitable. So the challenge I want to put to all you brilliant minds in this audience that are listening is, instead of thinking about, oh my gosh, how do we control AI? How do you build a more equitable future? And like, how do you, once we're done disrupting everything, like, what future would you like to see for everyone? And how can we use these technologies to leverage that? So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Empress Josh. Jordan.
Hey everyone. So I'll start with the question of, is AI pushing artistic boundaries? And I would say yes, particularly within the context of education. I teach art to young people as young as 13 who haven't necessarily had the opportunity to gain all of the technical skills that they would like, whether it's drawing or painting. But being an artist isn't all about being good at drawing and painting. It's important to be able, for them to be able to explore the concepts and ideas in their head and bring them out of their mind and onto the page or the screen, right? And so I found that with AI, students are able to explore these ideas and build confidence in themselves as they learn to draw and paint and build those skills alongside the conceptual ones.
Shout out for Jordan. Thank you, Jordan. So, how we're going to work this now is I have a few questions that I've actually asked our panelists to perhaps suggest. So I'm going to ask a few questions to our panelists, and then I'm going to go over to all of you for some questions. So start thinking about what you want to ask this amazing group of people who we have here this afternoon. Can I ask, Fatima, could you hold that for me for a second? So, because I'm terrible that I now need glasses. I reached the age of 45 and cannot read anymore. So this is what aging does to you. Now, I'm going to turn to William.
Again?
And I have the first question for you. So what's the relation between, and you touched upon it in your intervention, what's the relationship between the body and technology in artistic production? Thanks, Elian.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm going to make.
We have enough time.
If you want, whatever you want.
De vuelta en español. Yo personalmente soy una persona que necesita de la tecnología para vivir, ¿no? No solamente porque soy hipoacústico, sino porque mis piernas no funcionan sin la tecnología, y eso, a medida que avance mi vida, va a ser cada vez mayor la necesidad de la tecnología. Sin embargo, hagamos de cuenta, solamente por ahora, yo tengo un cuerpo debilitado, ¿no? La mayoría tenemos un cuerpo debilitado, pero a veces más y a veces menos. A mí me preocupa particularmente cómo los entornos digitales han normalizado determinada relación con la tecnología, ¿no? Como que cualquier cosa que viene a nuestra vida y tiene forma tecnológica, básicamente es muy fácil de aceptarlo. ¿Por qué sucede eso? No sé, habrá que ver, ¿no? El avance tecnológico y particularmente las tecnologías digitales han puesto muy en evidencia la dependencia del humano con la tecnología, particularmente en la globalización de los 90 para acá, ¿no? La posibilidad de conectividad con cualquier lugar del mundo, ¿no? Las telecomunicaciones, etc. Me preocupa que esa normalización o naturalización de los entornos digitales hagan entrar tecnologías, por ejemplo, la inteligencia artificial, y que arrase absolutamente con todo, ¿no? Cuando digo que arrase con todo, no solamente me refiero a lo que les preocupa a muchos artistas, que es las condiciones de trabajo, ¿no? Las condiciones laborales, como básicamente el miedo de cómo hacer que las máquinas no suplanten al humano, que es, bueno, una de los grandes blefs alrededor de la inteligencia artificial, es eso, ¿no? Vienen a reemplazarnos. Cosa que no me parecería mal, porque me parece que las máquinas cuidarían más esta tierra golpeada que los humanos. Pero más allá de eso, pienso que mi relación con la tecnología ya estaba dada porque soy un cuerpo que necesita de ella, pero pienso que todos estamos inmersos en esos entornos digitales, ¿no? Entonces, para mí lo que está en discusión es cómo se produce verdad, qué es la verdad, qué es lo real hoy, ¿no? Entonces yo creo que ahí hay un saber atávico, una palabra medio difícil de traducir, espero que no me esté odiando la traductora, un saber atávico, un saber visceral, un saber histórico, ¿no? Que el humano tiene para poder conectarse con la realidad, ¿no? Entonces, para mí el secreto va a ser, en el futuro inmediato quizás, cómo enseñarle a esas máquinas que se están basando en nuestra historia, nada más y nada menos, que existe una realidad, ¿no? Para que seamos los humanos quienes podemos seguir construyendo esa noción de verdad que nos sostiene hasta acá, ¿no? Entonces, es un poco difícil pensar la relación de la tecnología y el cuerpo, porque considero nada, que con la modernidad, ni hablar, la revolución industrial, el fordismo y demás, que ha hecho del cuerpo una máquina perfecta, reemplazable, solapable, organizada en módulos, el desafío está un poco en eso, ¿no? Cómo entender que los entornos digitales puedan seguir produciendo realidad. Y no me refiero a que la vida real o la vida digital sean cosas separadas, ¿no? La vida digital es igual o incluso más fuerte. Digo, ¿cuántos de nosotros vivimos a través de eso, o amamos a través de eso, o superamos dolor a través de eso? Sino, cómo hacer de que se sostenga un proyecto de vida y nos podamos imaginar otro futuro, ¿no? En el que no sea solamente una amenaza a la tecnología que viene, ¿no? Eso no quita que haya que trabajar las condiciones de trabajo, ¿no? Las condiciones laborales. Eso no quita que haya que discutir los monopolios corporativos que desarrollan estas tecnologías. Bueno, nada, creo que hay que seguir dando la discusión, pero en la materia artística tenemos la posibilidad de producir sentido de una forma para poder seguir trabajando esa idea de realidad que nos sostenga frente al mundo que viene, ¿no?
Thank you, Elia. That's a fantastic observation. Thank you for sharing that with us. I think I'm going to turn to Empress Trash because you're an AI artist and you have an incredible knowledge. I mean, not only have you been, you've exhibited in Miami and South by Southwest, here in Mexico City. You've seen so much, but you also, interestingly, use CC0. Can I ask you, because many people, you're so many digital and AI artists that I meet, and we'll make sure next time there are more AI artists with us.
I don't mind being
you're not alone
the canary
with
in the coal mine.
You are not the canary in the coal mine. You are definitely not. And it was great to see so many people sign on to our AI letter to make sure that AI artist letter, which many of you are aware of, that so many artists were not having a voice, and we wanted to make sure AI artists did have a voice in the debate. But you use CC0. Tell us about that, because I'd just love for this audience to know more about how you're using tools. And
yeah, so as Empress Trash, I am a CC0 artist, so everything I create, it goes instantly into public domain.
I think we should congratulate. That's amazing, isn't it? Thank you.
Thank you. But the caveat to that is because I'm also a crypto artist. So I am literally public enemy number one in a lot of ways, because I am a woman, I'm queer, I'm an I do crypto and NFTs, and I do AI. So, and the part of the CC0 is because I believe with blockchain and being able to have provenance in forever on the blockchain for the work that I create, that's all the ownership I need. I don't need to try to control the copyright and IP of it. I don't need to try to merchandise. I don't need to try to do all of those things. I can just put my work out there for everyone. And that's how I've always wanted it to be. But it's always before I got into crypto art a few years ago, I didn't, digital assets, there was really not a very tangible way to be able to create a living from it besides being a graphic designer, doing commissions, all that stuff. But you're still working for someone else. You're not necessarily creating work that is your vision and speaking to you and putting it out there, and it's a piece of art that just is there and exists. So yeah, that's all of that is tied into the CC0. And it is it's a ethos that a lot of us in crypto hold. A lot of us crypto artists believe in sharing. We believe that everything is a remix, that we are just art, all art is derivative off of each other. So why compete and have all this weird laws and everything in between it? Let's just put our work into the public domain and be able to remix each other and have conversations with each other permissionlessly. Because essentially when you're putting work online, you are in a way putting it, not necessarily the copyright in public domain, but you're putting it in the public sphere. And to me, it starts getting a little weird when I'm like putting it in a public sphere, but I'm like, no, like this is an idea that's out there, but you can't use it. Like I'm just gonna like show it to you and you can't use it. And that's like a personal thing for me. I do have friends that aren't CC0. I have friends that like they want to retain their copyright. I totally understand and respect the reasoning for that because we're not in a utopia yet where we can just share ideas and people don't try to like exploit that. But for me, it's like kind of a protest, kind of an ethos thing, kind of just all of that wrapped into one because I just, like I want to share. I want my work out there. I want people to be able to like connect with it. And other artists remix my work all the time. And they don't have to ask me, which that's like the idea behind it, is like they can just do it. They get inspired. They don't have to wait for me to do it, like say it's okay or give them approvals for whatever they did. And I've seen some amazing work come from that. And I've seen more of that than like a lot of people put the fear out of, oh, like, what if someone does something bad to it, blah, 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 blah. Like, I haven't had that happen to me yet. Not saying it won't happen, and when that does happen, like, I'll deal with it how I deal with it, but, and I'll navigate it, but for the most part, in my years of doing this now, I haven't experienced that, so.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, because I think that's important that we share that knowledge together, so thank you. But I'm now going to ask Fatima a question. Oh, sorry, it's the microphone thing. How are you seeing policymakers or cultural policymakers looking at AI? You've got an expertise in this field. I mean, how are you seeing that? Because it just, policymakers, cultural policymakers looking at AI, fascinating. Over to you,
Well,
Fatima. Are they looking at it? That's the first question.
Yes, that's the thing. I mean, of course, it's on everyday agenda, so it's everybody's more or less aware of what's going on. But I think in terms of policy, and I would think mostly from, well, I'm based in Portugal, and I think there's a huge gap between what is happening technologically and what is happening in terms of policy making for culture. We've seen like culture being devalued in terms of its political value, in terms of governments assuming the compromise to it, so investment going down. So I don't really think that AI is still a topic on the agendas and the public policy as it should be. It definitely is. If we think about private companies, they are looking at that and they are pushing maybe a more international or in economies where this is already being discussed. They are pushing the boundaries there to the extent they are pushing for their interests to be discussed at a policy level, not the artist. And I think that's something that I'd like to connect to what Empress Trash just said, because she mentioned like she uses CC0, some of her colleagues do not, and I think one part of the really important approach to the economics of all this is really that the artists are aware that they can choose their own strategies. They can choose whatever they want to do with their licensing, with the way they use or they promote their work. And this is something that is still not being discussed at the level I think would be interesting for the artists. And one of the reasons I'd say is that we don't have enough artists participating in these discussions. And this is something that has it's really hard to want to connect to the policy level and want to work with the artists, because it's like two different realities and two different truths, as you were saying. So it's really very much, okay, at the policy level we can push so far and it goes really slowly, and it doesn't react to respond to the needs of the artist. So I, as a strategist, business mentor for creative industries, or a professor to my students, what I try to raise awareness is about, okay, this is how the system works, this is what we have now, and you have a lot of options. You don't have to go just one way. You don't have just to respond to what is the mainstream approach to this or that. So I think it's mainly what's happening at the moment.
Yeah. Thanks, Fatima. Now I'm going to give this over to Jordan. You're last but not least, Jordan. Sorry. And one question I think is so interesting to ask you. I mean, you are working, like, you're talking about your students, and you work at, is that right? You're helping at the Rhode Island School of Design's Teen Online program, and you're helping, you're talking to teens every day. Like, how have your students responded to being introduced to AI tools? What are you seeing out there? I'm fascinated by I mean, we're of a, well, I'm a certain generation, and but what are you seeing?
Well, of course, every student is different, right?
Yes.
But the response has been overwhelmingly positive. Like I said, a lot of my students don't have the confidence yet in their art skills because they're quite young. But using AI allows them to explore these ideas that are captured in their head. And so the response of it has been positive. They like using it. They continue to use it after the classes ended. And the school has actually even asked me to now teach a class that's focused on AI, because yeah, the students have loved it. But that being said, there are some students who don't really need it, who are technically adept and don't really have the use for it. And so just like any other tool, some people gravitate towards it, some people are naturally good at it, writing prompts or what have you. And some students, it takes a little bit more time and work to figure it out. But yeah, the students have loved it and have been incorporating it into their workflows.
Cool, that's great. I'm just checking our time, so we're doing really well for time. So that gives us about 20 minutes of questions from our audience. So, yeah, Elian, you come. Yeah.
And you, what do you think about AI and creativity? Do you want to know? I don't know. He's the boss, come on.
Thank you for that. Thanks for giving me the floor. Is everyone okay if I give some of my impressions? I think that there's a plethora of artists that we've talked to who are out there, some who don't want to use it at all, some who want to share with it, others who are using it in ways unimaginable. I think a bit like, like the people we've spoken to. And so it's how do we navigate something that is new? Somebody described it as both magic and fearful. I mean, and some of the things, I have to say, I did try and use Midjourney, and my art was not very good. But that's because I am not using it on a day-to-day basis. I'm not using it. I'm not looking at the prompts. And this is where I was very lucky recently to be an inaugural speaker at a Creative Mornings event in where I now live. And a graphic artist told the story of how he's experienced it. And it was just really interesting. He said, I thought I'm going to lose my job. He said, but now look at the work that I'm creating. And my value is not about being fearful about it. It's about using this, adapting. And he sees value. He's not sharing his prompts, and he shared his work with us. And it was of a quality and of, it was just unbelievable. I mean, it was really incredible. And so it was really interesting hearing his journey from being really fearful to adoption to now advocating. Now, I'm not saying everyone is like that, but for me, we are in this new world. And we are moving. I mean, Creative Commons was created in a world that is very different to today. And now we're seeing different ways that our licensing are being used. We're thinking about what is ours to do in the world of today. How are we adapting to this new reality? And that's so important because we have to adapt to the new reality. This is but it's the pace of change of this new reality. But it's also, I think people were talking earlier, there are power dynamics here, which if we want to get this new world right with the opportunity, then we have to address some of the challenges with that. And I don't want to see us going into a situation where the commons is diminished, and that is a possibility. I see we could have a renaissance of creativity on one hand, on the other hand, We could have the challenges of a desert. And so there's these challenges ahead of us. But by talking about it like we're doing, the theme is AI in the commons, I want to see a commons of knowledge and creativity that we can build on, that we can gain from in the public interest. And something that I think is so important is that we keep that front and center about the public interest in the spaces and places that we're thinking about and discussing. I feel I've just abused my position of chairing this, but Ellen, thank you so much. Thank you. Oops. And I really appreciate giving me the opportunity to share a few of my thoughts. Anyway, it's now over to our audience to ask some questions. So I know it's later. I know you're all a bit tired. I know this is the last part of our second day, and tomorrow, sadly, is our last day together. But I'm looking over to see some people to raise some hands. Any questions? Or else I'll have to ask more questions. So over to you. Oh, great, Peter. Wonderful. Over to Peter. Oh, yeah, sure. Thanks, Peter, for being a volunteer there. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And Peter, say where you're from, and yeah, I think everyone would love to hear that.
Hi everyone, I'm Peter, I'm from OER Commons. So most of my work is focused on providing like K through 12 and some higher education, educational resources for teachers who are trying to get kids and some adults education. And while you were talking about working with kids specifically, I got to thinking, do you ever talk about, or do any of you ever talk about, like making art for your own consumption of it, rather than making art for other people to consume? And if so, like, is that something that you've thought about talking to the students about? Because like, I've played with various large language models, and I am entertained. And usually that's what I want from art. And so I wonder if that's something that's gotten coverage. Thanks.
We start with Jordan.
Thank you. I love that question. And so, actually, all of the art that I make is personal. I don't really put any of my art into the world. But when I'm teaching students, it's oftentimes associated with a subject, whether it's marketing and advertising, art and social justice. There's a lesson tied to it. There's a purpose that they're making this art. And so, yeah, while I can encourage them to pursue their personal art interests, it's also important, and they're paying for these classes to build certain skills. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Can I say something? So I make a lot of art that I don't share. Like what I do share is like the tip of the iceberg probably, because my childhood was really screwed up. I left home at 13. I have a lot of mental health issues, and art has been my constant throughout my whole life. And so there's actually the vast majority of my art is not put in the public eye, because that is stuff I'm working through still. And for me, when I finally put work out there, it's part of the process of it all, and it's a very thought out moment of like, okay, this is something I'm willing to share with like the world, because that's like, once you put it on the internet, it's shared with the world. I also I don't work with kids a lot. I work with adults though, a lot of other adult artists or people who are just starting to discover their artists. Like one of my favorite like perverse things is taking one of my art collectors and making them into an artist, because they already have the appreciation. They're like one step away from like being one, because I really think everyone has the ability to create. I think everyone has an artist in them, and I really advocate with them, because a lot of people who are just starting to discover their creative energies are really scared for the judgment of putting it out there. And that's a whole thing you have to learn as an artist. That's a whole part of art school, is learning how to be judged and taking it and not taking it and just going with it. So I really advocate with the people who are just starting to just make art for themselves. Like, don't worry about putting it out there, just make it, just do it. Because it's the act of doing it that is the most beneficial to us. And then there's just some of us who are a little bit more masochistic, and we like putting it out for everyone else to judge. So, and that's a whole other thing to deal with. So yeah.
Thank you. I'm just going to pass to Fatima and Elian, and then I have Carlos. Did you put your hand up there? Yes. But can we hear from Fatima and Elian? Then we'll come to Carlos.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I have much more to add to this, but yes. But in terms of the art, is not. We don't do art to sell. We do art because we do art because we're humans. So we'll always do it. So I think it's the whole thing of having the students having to consider what they want to do with it. Sometimes they're just there because they're just interested in perfecting some technique and learning more about it. It's not necessarily, of course we have all this structure for the market and all the labor market, and a bunch of art schools have emerged since we've started to commodify these things, but there's still people that are just genuinely interested in it, and that's it. Art will always be there.
I have nothing to say. I agree with my colleagues.
Do you know that these are great panelists, aren't they? Give them a shout out again. I think they're doing really well for the last thing. Thank you. So, Carlos, you have a question.
Hi, everybody.
Say who you're from, where you're from.
Hi, I'm Carlos from the Future of Life Institute. I wanted to ask the panel, especially Empress, if they could tell us their thoughts of the dichotomy between AI as a threat and a tool. During the 2 days I've been here, there's been a lot of discussion of how AI can empower artists, but how AI can also be an existential threat to artists. And I think this panel is very balanced because it seems like it has a little bit of both directions. So maybe if you could tell us how that affects you, or what viewpoints you have into this dichotomy of, is it destroying you or is it empowering you?
Let's have you.
On that. So, yeah, for me it's empowering. I mean, I did have fear of it for a minute, but the baseline is to me it's another technology. Technology is inherently neutral. So one thing I always like to point out when people are talking about AI is they tend to personify it, and it's a technology still. It may be able to act human in a lot of ways, but we project our issues on it because until we interact with it or we tell it to like think for itself, it's not going to do it. It's just inert. It's waiting for us to interact with it. So I think a lot of the fears that come from AI are fears that we are dealing with of what humanity is. And that is what needs to be dealt with. And I think AI amplifies it. I think any new technology amplifies it, just like when we got cameras, just like when we got nuclear technology. It's like we could have used nuclear technology to build a utopia or kill each other. And we did both, kind of. So, and it's the same. It's every technological advancement. We kind of go through the same process. And the really negative, like the positive aspects are highlighted, and the really negative aspects of humanity are also highlighted. I think at the end of the day, it's good because we can't just ignore the fact that like humans do the things that we do to each other. And if AI is bringing that up and we tangibly understand it's not AI doing it, it's us doing it, and we take accountability and we start building a society that isn't how it is, then at the end of the day, it's a good thing. And so instead of abstaining, I decided I wanted to participate with the technology because how else am I gonna have an impact on it? And that is how I got through my fear. So if that helps. You wanna?
Sure. So I think that both perspectives are equally valid. AI does empower artists, but it also is abused, right? And I think it's important for each individual to sort of see both sides of it, the yin and the yang of it, the good and the bad and the good, and then explore as an individual, as an artist, how it can be used to empower you personally, the way that you can use it as an individual to grow as an artist.
Yeah, yeah, I'm just going to subscribe everything you said and say something about it's all a matter of narrative. And there's been a session here where I've learned about the hero's journey narrative, and we're used to this linear way of thinking of things, like this is either good or bad, and this is either going to harm people or empower them. It's both, and it's really for us to choose which narratives we want to carry on with and how we want them to be. It doesn't have to be this one way or the other, and it doesn't have to have a linear telling to it. It can have an open ending, and we keep building upon it.
I don't have nothing to say about it.
Okay.
They know more than me.
Oh, no, not at all. If something comes to you, let me know. Okay, we have 9 minutes left for this panel. Great. There you go. Can somebody get a microphone to the person in the back? Great. Please tell us your name and where you're from. Great, thank you.
Hello, my name's Angela Fondren. Jordan up there knows me. We had dinner the first night here. It was great. But I am a academic librarian at a 2-year community college. And all of this discussion is making me think, what do I need to do for our young artists that are just learning so that they can use these tools and also make that decision of how they want to do the licensing for this? Is this something that I can help the students with? Should I be pursuing this aspect? Because I'm already working with our English and history folks in the writing part. So now I need to think, do I need to start thinking about artist part?
Yes. Thank you for the question. And my answer would be that it begins with educating yourself on all of this, right? And then you can begin to educate others. And as far as like licensing, I think that exposing students to all of this information and then allowing them to make the choice themselves is the best route to take. Some students are naturally going to gravitate towards AI tools and towards CC licenses, and some students aren't going to be interested, and some students will have a mix. But exposing them and at least making sure that they have the information to be able to make the decision. To the choice, then they can make the choice themselves.
Yeah, talk about it. Don't pretend it doesn't exist. I don't know, and don't demonize it, because that just, like, one thing is like, as I remember, I'm very much a radical. I'm very much like, I was the problem student in a lot of ways, even though I'm very smart, and I was the one that like a lot of teachers struggled with. And the one thing is the second you're like, don't do that, like, that made me want to do it. So like, just, you know, have the information available and talk to them, and just like, this is what reality is right now. This is the resources you have available to you. And this, like, you can use it, you don't have to use it. I think like there's a weird narrative too around AI, which I don't really like you have to learn AI or you're gonna fall behind. Like, that's a little weird. Like, I do think it's important to like at least understand it, but like to force people to use a technology that they may not want to use, that gets into consent issues that like I'm on the side of consent with things. So yeah, like I wouldn't like, since it's like you're trying to be like a neutral position, just be neutral as much as you can about it and not demonize it, but not, you know, be like, oh, this is gonna fix all your problems, because it's not.
Yeah. You okay? Well, this is a great panel, because normally panelists want to take time up, and I'm like, you're all being super generous to our audience. We have, I believe, let me just check, is it 4 minutes we have got left? 4 minutes. So, oh, lady over there. Thank you. And if there's a quick other question, put your hand up and we'll take the two together. So this is your moment.
Okay, it's kind of I've been processing this question. So you're working, Jordan, with young people, and my department also works with a really wide range of folks. And so I teach English as a second language, but we also have adult basic education classes. And something that we've been experiencing is middle school and high school students who just got out of COVID, and they don't have the same social interaction that we maybe had when we were young, and their entire lives are technology-based, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. They're on their phone all the time. And so I really wanted to know how using the AI to develop their art, how has that created, or if it has created like a sense of belonging in the classroom, or if it's helped them in that social aspect.
Thank you for the question. So I put my students on a shared Midjourney account, and so what that means is there's a shared feed, so they see each other's prompts that they write and then what they get out of those prompts. And then oftentimes they'll take those discussions into class. I see that this keyword worked for you, it was really cool what you were able to make with this prompt, could you help me with this? Having a shared space for them to be working on this stuff together is where I find the sense of belonging is created. And the classes that I teach are online, so the students never actually meet in person. They're coming from all over the world. And so all of these shared spaces, whether it's on Midjourney Discord or whether it's through messaging, what have you, they're all virtual. But I think my students do a good job of creating a community even within the virtual limitations.
Again, I don't work with kids, but I do most of my work online because that's just the nature of being a digital artist. And the one thing I want to add to that is just there's a lot of great ways to build virtual galleries. There's a site called OnCyber. These are a lot of crypto native things, so you may not like them, but they're awesome. But OnCyber, Spatial.io, actually you don't necessarily need crypto to hook up to a wallet to use Spatial. But a lot of other great 3D interactive environments that are specific to creating galleries or environments that are for people to congregate virtually, and there's voice chatting, you can do emotes, so it's kind of like VR chat for anyone who knows that, or anything like that. VR chat is another one, but specifically in these, it's about the creator being able to build their worlds and build galleries. So a lot of what I will do, because I'm working with artists internationally a lot, I'll put together group exhibitions, and I will put all of their art together in a virtual gallery, and then we have a party in it, and we even get DJs and stuff. So it's we kind of simulate in real life, but that way it's accessible to everyone around the world. We don't all have to fly to the same place to be able to share our art together and have an experience together. So I'll just put that out there too, of an idea, which I think it's for us doing crypto art, it's this natural thing because we just always congregate in these spaces, but I think it's something maybe not the rest of the world knows about, so just bringing that up.
Thanks for, but I think we're learning, right? This is all a learning opportunity for everyone here who maybe isn't in that space, and thinking about how after Summit we're all across the world, how we use those virtual spaces and places to be able to share ideas, share our art, share what we want to do and think about. It's really important, and I think that's a really good point about how we do things as well. I should know, I've spoken. Fatima, William, do you want to say anything? You all right? You sure? You're just like, no, but, and also we've got another day, and our panelists will be around, and we're always open to chats, conversations, talking about the issues that you are dealing with, and also if you have any questions coming from this. But we're now at time, and I think this has been an extraordinary, rich discussion with a variety of views, but also how fascinating that we are in the world that we're in, with the opportunities that arise from that, as well as the challenges too. So could you give our panelists a contribution of thanks, and thanks to all of you. Please show your appreciation. Thank you.